Alright guys, here we are, Unit 7, Skill 8. This is probably my favorite lesson of the entire year. Students rock it. I know you're going to love it. So our essential question for today is, how do you partition a directed line segment? So again, make sure you copy that down. We definitely have some vocab built in there, which I'm going to start explaining in a minute here. So how do you partition a directed line segment? Alright? So again, make sure you copy that down. That is what you want to be able to answer and know how to do before you move on to the next lesson today, tomorrow, whenever it is. Okay? So we're going to start with the first vocab word there. What does it mean to partition a line segment? Think about it in terms of the fact that there is a partition in the gym. I could partition the class in half. Partition simply means to divide. So what does it mean to partition a line segment? To divide. Let's get my pen working here. Into a given ratio. So I could partition the class in half. I could partition the class into 2/3. I could partition the class into 1/4. So partition simply means, again, to divide into a given ratio. All right? Now, what does it mean for a line segment to be directed? Okay, what it means for a line segment to be directed is there is a starting point and there's an ending point. It has to go in a specific direction. Okay, so what does it mean to call a line segment directed? There is a starting point and end point. Alright, so it's just like if you give directions to a friend. You want your friend to walk from school to Wegmans. They're going to start at school and go to Wegmans. You're going to direct the pilot to go from Rochester to Orlando. That is a direction, a starting point and an ending point. Okay, so we're going to put these two things together here and look at this couple examples. It says, what point would partition the directed line segment AB? So that's our direction. A to B, so I'm going from A to B, into a 2:3 ratio. So that means whoa! Are we still recording? Okay, I just dropped my pen on the thing and all my windows popped up, so I'm sorry about that. So we want to divide this into a 2:3 ratio. So if you take a look here, our segment's already split into 5 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts. I want to be 2 parts away from A, because that was my starting point, 3 away from B. So I'm simply just going to start at A. I'm going to go 2 spots. 1, 2. Here's my point. I'm 2 points away from A. I'm 3 points away from B. So what point? It'd be point B. All right, let's try this one. What point would partition the directed segment BA? So notice this time I'm going from B to A into a 1:4 ratio. So I'm going to start at B. I only want to be 1 away from that. So right now I'm going to be at point. Oh, why did I put B here? Jeez. Nobody caught me on that. That should be a 3. Let's try this again. And then this one would be a 1. Why is that green? A 1. All right. So that's essentially what we're going to do today. We're just now going to put that in terms of a graph. So let's take a look at how this comes up on the regions. And just like before, this has come up every single year. Normally one time in an exam each year, but it is something that we can almost guarantee. So given directed segment AB with the following endpoints. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to graph those points. So -3, 5. 1, 2, 3. So here's my A. Again, it's really important that you label them. B is at 1, -3. Down here. Find the coordinates of the point that partition the segment into a 1:3 ratio. So I'm going to go ahead and connect these. There we go. Okay, obviously yours should be a lot straighter than mine. So 1:3 ratio. So the first thing I'm going to notice is that means I'm going to have a total of 4 parts. 1 part closer to A, 3 parts closer to B. Now, the easiest way to do this is to simply make a right triangle out of it. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a line down from A. And I'm going to draw that same line over. So I made a right triangle out of it. You can do this for any segment, no matter which way it's going. You simply draw a right triangle. I'm now going to go in and count as what is essentially my rise, what is my run. So what are the lengths of these two legs? So up and down, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to put an 8. Left to right, I have a 4. So that's my original distances between A and B. But I'm going to go back, and I said I have to split that into a total of 4 parts. 1 plus 3 parts. So divide by 4, divide by 4. I'm now going to get 2. I get 1. So this 2 means instead of going down all 8, I'm going to go down 2. And this 1 means instead of going over 4, I'm going to go over 1. So I'm going down 2 over 1, put a dot. Down 2 over 1, put a dot. Down 2 over 1, and you should end up where you need to. So the last thing now is, hopefully your line's actually on the dots, unlike mine, is I have to figure out which of those dots is 1 away from A, because that was the order I was going. I'm going from A to B. Well, it's this dot right here, because on that same dot is 3 spaces away from B, and it says coordinates. So to get full credit here, I have to write down the coordinates of that point. And that point looks like it would be at -2, +3. So -2, +3. And there you go. You're done. All right. So it might be a lot, like looking back at this picture, it looks like I did a whole lot of work, but I promise you it's going to go pretty quick, and you're really going to get the hang of it after we do this next one. Okay, so let's try this example 2. Given directed segment AB, so we're going to go from A to B with our following endpoints. Find the coordinates of the point that partition the segment into a 3:4 ratio. So again, I'm just going to quickly jot down 7 parts. 3 plus 4 gives me 7. So I'm going to start by graphing them. -7, 5. So that would be right about there. That's point A. B's at +7, -2. So B is there. Connect those. Wish I had a straight line tool like I do on my smartboard. Yeah, because that's definitely not straight. Health is much better than that. All right, so step 1, plot the points. Done. Step 2 is to connect them to make a right triangle. So I'm going to go straight down, and I'm going to go straight over. Okay. Next up is to count those points. So what's the vertical distance? What's the horizontal distance? So if I count up and down here, I'm going to end up with 7. If I count left to right here, I'm going to get 14. Okay, if you don't get the same numbers that I got, just check them again. Next step is now where the dividing comes into play. So I'm going to divide both those numbers by how many parts I have. So 7 divided by 7 gives me 1. 14 divided by 7 gives me 2. So that means I'm going to go down 1 over 2, put a dot. Down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2, so on and so forth. Hopefully your points are actually on your line, because you clearly can see my line was not where my points were. So the last thing I have to do is I have to figure out which point is 3 away from A, because my direction was going A to B. So I started A, 1, 2, 3 spots right there. And my coordinates of that would be -1, +2. Okay. So you're going to have a lot of practice of this in your practice packet. So the questions on the reading today have been just as straightforward as that. They've been given as multiple choice questions, and now know if you're not given a graph, you should use the graph paper in the back of your exam. But these also have been on short answer, where sometimes they give you the graph on that page, sometimes you have to use the graph paper yourself. But recently they've started changing it up a bit, getting it a little bit more complex. So this was how they asked it not that long ago. They said point P is on the directed line segment from point X to point Y and divides the segment into the ratio 1 to 5. What are the coordinates of point P? So just because this was a multiple choice question, and again, this actually happened to be a question where they didn't give you graph paper right on that specific question, but I want you to take that graph paper out from the back of your exam and sketch a little graph for yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and start by plotting those points. So -6, -2. Right about there. Make sure I did that right. Yep. So that was point X. Y is at +6, +7. Way up here. I'm going to try and connect them a little bit better. And just like we did before, I'm going to go ahead and make a right triangle out of them. So I'm going to go over. I'm going to go up. So I'm going to count the distance between them horizontally and vertically, add those to my graph. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Did I go over too far? No. Okay, so this is 12. Just to make sure. And if I count vertically now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if I go back and look at the question wanted it into a ratio of 1 to 5, which means that there's going to be a total of 6 parts, because 1 plus 5. Well, 12 can divide by 6 nice. That's going to give me 2. But 9 is not going to divide by 6 nice. That's going to leave me with a fraction, which is 3/2, or 1.5. Oh, that did not show up on the page. Let's try that again. 1.5. Okay? So a little trickier, but nothing we can't handle. So I'm going to go over 2, and I'm going to go up 1.5 to find my dots. Over 2, up 1.5. Over 2, up 1.5. So hopefully if you used a straight line, you're finding that these points are in fact on your line. Okay, so at this point, we have all of our partition points laid out. We just have to go back and figure out which one is the one that they want. So it says we want to be 1 point away from point X. So if I start over here at X, I want to be 1 away from that. That means I'm looking for this coordinate right here. And if we count, we're starting at the origin. I'm going left, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm down just halfway. So -4, -1/2. If we go back and check, that is a choice. Choice 4. Okay? So sometimes they'll give you the partition points, like this one, and you just have to figure out which one's correct. Sometimes you do the partitioning yourself. So be sure to take out your practice packet. Yes, do a couple of them, even if you think you're a pro already, because we need that repetition to sit into your brain. And then you can take your CFU when you're ready. All right, over and out.